Hello and welcome to the Animation Communication Podcast, your source for discussion about animation, film, fandom, and more. So please join your host, I Love Kim Possible a Lot, or KP, and Lauren Kizich, the Abbey Roadie, for today's discussion. If you like what you hear, please remember to support by giving a like, a follow, as well as subscribing to the main I Love Kim Possible a Lot channel on YouTube. Spread the word and keep being a part of a great community. This episode contains some mild adult language.
Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of Animation Communication where we have no guests and we are our own guests. I'm Sleepy KP.
We are our own best entertainment.
Yeah, thanks for coming to the one where we're just chilling and talking about pony shit and stuff. So Lauren, before I go into just general things, what's been going on with you? This is the first time we've had a KP and Lauren episode in a while, so we can talk about casual things in our lives. Imagine that, we have those, kind of.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of freelance projects, stuff currently under NDA at this point, so I can't really talk about anything quite yet. But otherwise, I also have I'm trying to think of when we last recorded. I guess it was initiated or just about to be launched. I have a Teespring store, so I'm trying to push that. I've gotten a lot of really good sales out of that too. So I've been getting used to that whole new thing, and it's so much better than Redbubble.
Oh yeah.
The quality is really good, and they have so many more merch options.
Redbubble's so overpriced.
I have my art on a pint glass. I'm and believe it or not, so I have a bunch of different, so I have a set of designs right now. I made it to be a collectible thing. Believe it or not, somebody bought one of every of the character on a glass that I had in the set, and they bought all the glasses, so they have a whole set.
Oh wow, that's that. Every time I put out merch, I have to really push it, and only a couple people buy things, so that's why I just don't do it online anymore. But I've been toying.
It's a lot of work to push a story. I mean, it's constant pushing to get the word out and stuff like that. So yeah, I feel
I've been toying with the idea of reopening KP commissions online, because I'm much better with digital art now, so it's doable. But every time I do that, I get 2 people, and then that's it. I'm just okay, guys, thanks.
I mean, I was gonna say with Ko-Fi, Coffee, that service, basically you can offer little commissions through there. They have a means of doing that. So it makes it easy for people to be able to see quick samples of your stuff, and then they could throw money.
Yeah, that's true. I will think about how I want to do it. But yeah, and as far as me, I am going back to art school because California just keeps on becoming on fire, and I don't know how long it's gonna take, so I'm just well, I might as well do the thing that might be a little bit more guaranteed to get me an internship or something than just wait. So Lauren, tell everyone about the strike that's going on, because that's just a hot mess, right?
Oh, well, I mean, the thing is, the strike hasn't officially happened yet. There are people who are
okay, so it's not even happening yet.
Well, the thing is, as of recording this, it's supposed to be tomorrow when it officially starts. So basically, AMPTP and IATSE have come down to the wire in terms of negotiations. Just yesterday, around the evening, late afternoon, early evening, literally they've been taking weekends and stuff to literally push for this kind of stuff. Is that IATSE?
Describe it what's IATSE, how is this working, that kind of thing.
So yeah, IATSE is the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, and the Alliance of Motion Pictures and Television Producers. So you have IATSE, 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 sorry, I'm in the middle of E's, and then AMPTP. So those are your two parties. So you have these two union groups, or at least you have IATSE as the union for production people and stage actors and makeup artists, basically the meat of the industry, the people that make everything happen for the heavy duty productions. And there was a lot of support coming in from the animation side and from animation unions and stuff to support the strike, because, you know, whatever happens to production, even on live action productions, it can trickle down into animation all the same, especially when you have production people working on that stuff, and writers and you know, everything. It all comes down to that and how workers are treated. So they reached an agreement, a tentative agreement, as of yesterday, as of recording this, and so basically the point, and this has been like pretty much a months long process up to get to this point, but they really started like hammering it when it came down to the wire, because AMPTP was not budging on
a lot of acronyms.
Yeah, so basically when IATSE wanted the better conditions and stuff for production people, you know, and better pay, that kind of stuff, they weren't AMPTP was not budging on a lot of stuff, and we're giving them not good offers. So that's where the threat of the strike came in. And this would have been, if it goes through, if there's still a whole thing of people still trying to strike right now, depending on if the terms are agreeable to everybody at IATSE, because they still have to vote to ratify the terms. It would have been the first strike in its 128-year history. So
wow, so
I feel like that tells you how bad it's gotten in terms of, you know, where people were pushed to a point going like, we have to say something, you know.
And I have a question. So like, how does this work? So like when you're in the union, so basically if you get picked for production that's like fancy, you have to join the union. So you like give this organization like $1,000 so you can work in like union, and all the major studios.
It's like, all the stuff to be able to provide protection for you and stuff like that. And
so do like enough people tell the union building that they're unhappy, and then the union tries to negotiate with the other union?
Pretty much is what they, and so what they did try to, and what I think they finally did manage to get to, I have a summation of points here. They wanted the achievement of a living wage for the lowest paid earners in production, improved wages and working conditions for people working in streaming, which that was another huge thing because of how much work goes into streaming productions, but how much is demanded of crews, so that there's like, you're cranking out all this material in very little time. Retroactive wage increases of 3% annually. So originally they said it was going to be 3% the first year, and they were going to bring it down to like 2.5% for the following years after. And they're like, no, you got to keep it at 3%. So increased meal period penalties, daily rest periods of 10 hours without exclusions, weekend rest periods of 54 hours. Martin Luther King Jr., his birthday holiday is added to the schedule. An adoption of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative. So that's just brief bullet points of like what they were trying to go for. But there were a lot of testimonies of people who were sharing their production stories and how they were being treated and stuff like that. So it's like, it's heavy stuff, especially when you think none of this would, of our entertainment industry, they are the industry, you know, none of it would happen without them. So it's like, so that's why this was such a huge deal. And when they voted to strike, it was a 98% vote to go on strike. And so obviously AMPTP was like, oh crap. So it really pushed them to try and like reach some kind of an agreement, so that they wouldn't go on strike, because that would mean a huge portion of the industry would go on strike, and that would mean people would not be doing anything, and that would sink them, right? So they're basically obviously trying to reach these things so that that they don't have to run into a strike. But we'll have to see if anything ends up happening. I don't know when they're going to vote for this stuff, but this is as much as I know as a surface level thing that I'm not in IATSE or anything like that. But I have been like trying to keep my ear to the ground about what's been going on with that. So, but at least it seems like things are turning around for the better in this situation, which is good. But yeah, So
it's a lot of
that's
things going on. Yeah. So
yeah, it's a lot of factors coming into play for this, and it's been a long haul for us, especially for everybody who had been involved in negotiating it for going up to AMPTP and propositioning all this stuff and having to basically butt heads with them for months about stuff. And especially, I think it was also kind of sort of came in the wake of all the stuff going on when Scarlett Johansson said, with Black Widow,
the whole,
she wasn't getting all that stuff.
You need to give me more money, Mickey Mouse, because COVID screwed over my movie. And I'm like,
Well, yeah, it's like, and whether you agree with her or not, it is a matter of, like, whatever.
It's a matter of principle, and sticking to their contractual
Exactly. If it's not going to happen with her, it's going to happen with somebody else. And so that's what it was, is basically preventing it from happening down the line again. So, I mean, that's kind of in a similar vein to what's going on here.
Yeah.
Is making sure, at the very least, with production crews, that they're getting that proper treatment. And literally all they're like is like, we just want rest and a little better pay. Can you please?
Yeah.
And I can't believe
that
had to
I'll
be
just
something
throw
that
in.
was
I'll just throw in
negotiated.
real quick. It's important that people are earning passive revenue, because just generally you can be in between creative gigs for a while. So if you don't get that 3%, you're just like fucked, essentially, because it might be like 2 to 3 years, like something like that, before you get hired, especially if you're an actor or something like that. So
yeah, it's hard, because especially when you have people that even working in production, it's like it's basically a constant grind. Like it's and so that's what a whole huge push of that movement was, is that people shouldn't have had to like grind and risk their health and everything else when they need to be like in optimal condition to be able to do what everybody has to do to make productions happen. And I'm like, literally they're asking for the bare minimum to be able to like do what they can do to make these productions flow. And so so I'm like, so at least it seems like, again, it's to quote many articles where they've been quoting people, it's we've reached a Hollywood ending. So hopefully that really does mean that everybody kind of is in agreement that the terms will be good. So they may have just like by a hair avoided a strike.
We'll see tonight or tomorrow. So
at some point this week, I think they got to vote. So because originally they were going to strike tomorrow. So or at least start it. So So
I guess back to how this relates to us. Lauren's fine generally, but I would like to be in the industry before I turn 30. I'm 28 right now, and I just, every time like my birthday happens, I just get depressed because I haven't reached my my life goals, my goals for my life. Like, I want to be a showrunner, and I have this idea for a show, but I gotta to get the places. So I originally moved to LA because I thought I had enough context to get me from point A to point B. And I didn't, essentially. Plus, I didn't go to art school traditionally. I went to like a state-funded film school, which was exactly how you expected it to be. Very, very classy, very I had a film analysis class, and it was like a joke, because I'm just like, I analyze things like in my free time. I've been doing it like up to 4 years at that point. So I'm just like, this is what I do every day or every week or whatever. So this is a joke. So I only had one production class, and it was like a horrible experience because I got ostracized from the group, and that was like right before I started to get the PTSD. So yeah. So anyway, I'm hoping and then between COVID and the strike, LA's just kind of uncertain as far as the job market. And, I figured going now art school is in the cards because my family's doing better financially now. So my dad kept on bothering me up to a point, just go back to school. And I'm like, I really, really don't want to go back to school. I have a lot of my nightmares are just going back to school or being back in high school or being no one knows that I'm, in my late 20s. Why am I still in this high school? Maybe I didn't pass something and they figured it out. Or, those are like half of my nightmares, half my like PTSD influenced nightmares. So I really didn't want to go back to school. Plus, I'm not really like, I got like a 2.7 in high school. Like, it was a hard high school, but, I'm not a traditional academic person. Most artists aren't, I think. I feel like that's fair to say. So, I'm hoping, I'm not going to tell you what school I'm going to because I don't want to get stalked, but, hopefully I'll be able to get an internship through going back to school and kind of build up my art portfolio stuff to be in a point, because that was a hard thing for me to do on my own. And there's guild classes at the Animation Guild for art, and there's stuff, but it's not the same. I think it's not as intense, I think, as I needed as well, because like now I know how to animate and I know how to draw and I know how to do proportions and stuff like that, but like I think I need a more well-rounded portfolio, and every time I try to do it myself, I just either get depressed or feel like it's not good enough, and it was just killing time. So it's also really, really hard for me to be out of LA and be out of Burbank, because like my heart and soul was in Burbank, and like I wanted to be in Burbank since I was a baby child, and just being there, I'm sure Lauren can jump in and just being there, just being around people, just being around like you can talk animation with people and people can keep up with you and you don't have to like explain things like you're like, it's just such a nice feeling to just like know you're around that kind of environment. So it's been heartbreaking to be out of Burbank, but I'm hoping to, like, my dad says, like, well, you're going to school basically to go back to LA, to be in a position to go back to LA. So, and I'm just going to tell people I'm from LA if they ask, but which I guess is technically true. So, and, I'm in my new apartment. I got, like, my parents let me design my room with their money, which is always good. So I got, like, it's Ariel, a lot of Ariel stuff, I got a cool Kim Possible lamp that I put on Twitter. I got this beautiful Ariel lamp that, is nice. And I'm rooming with my my friend that I've known from high school. Before we get back into, I'll sell one thing and then we can get back into the news. And like the poor people are like, I just want to hear you talk about the ponies. Just like fast forward. But anyway, we, for the team, obviously we have, it's kind of a, work, like a turnaround, kind of like people leave and come just based on their own schedule, or just things that are going on in their real lives. So we had a new person come in that, like is younger. Like I don't hire minors at all because I'm just traumatized not to. But like we had like an 18-year-old join the team, and he's like, yeah, I've been editing for several years. And I'm like, oh, okay, are you familiar with the content? Because, like, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they just see it and they just want to be an editor or whatever. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, how long have you been watching me? And he's like, since 2013. And I'm like, oh, so since the beginning. And I was like, how old were you when you started watching? It was like 10, and now I'm 18. And I'm just like, ah. And then, like, Michaela was next to me while I was doing my meetings, and she looked like she got punched in the gut, and she's just like, oh no, we're getting old. So,
well, consider, when there was people that started it, especially when you think about My Little Pony with Gen 4, that there were people who were like, 10 and under when the show started, and then they were in like college by the time.
Yeah, I can't.
That's a scary thought.
I can't grapple with the idea that someone's been watching me all throughout middle school and high school and continuing in some way to watch me. That's crazy and scary to think about. I just think I've been in like this like negative space outside school because that's kind of how it's felt like for me. So, I don't know. I've been doing this for a long time. Okay, speaking of me doing this for a long time, and then we'll go back to the news. So make sure you're make sure you're watching the main content and you're also notified, because I was we just released an avatar animatic called Lay Me Down, and it's beautiful and it's great, and it really, really underperformed. Like, we worked on that for like 6 months, at least 4 to 6 months, and it like hasn't even reached 2,000 views yet, and not that it's about that, but it's not like, I would like for my YouTube career just to like be able to be a voice in the animation community. And, I feel like I'm still in that transitional phase because, I either have people that are bothering me about like, when are you going to make more pony stuff? No, so there's that. And then people that forget they were subscribed to me and they're just like, oh, I don't watch pony stuff anymore, unsubscribe, knowing that I don't really, like, I do pony stuff as needed and not my main content. And then there's people that find me through my new main content, and then they're like, why is she talking about ponies? Like, I'm not a brone or whatever. So a lot of it's me.
Was that a pun?
No, it was just like
Nay.
a joke about people not knowing how to pronounce brony.
I know, but it would still be funny if it ended up being a pun.
Oh, you mean like brone, like nays and the horse? Okay.
Like a neigh, it says in horse.
Oh, I get it. So,
maybe that's just how my brain.
A lot of the success of the channel, like, so we, we've reached out to like everyone I can think of as far as doing collabs, and people either just ghost us. I think they either see the name or there's like still bad rumors going around that we're gonna do something to address that soon. But anyway, and it's just really disheartening for me. Like, I don't need to make big numbers, but I would like people to care when we put out a project that we spent several months on. So, if you're listening and you haven't listened before, I imagine you're here for us to talk about the Pony movie. Please give the new content a chance. Like, I know it's isolating when creators talk about things that you're not used for you to talk about in your brain time, but that was worded great. But I really want to try to reach that goal in like a year or two. Like, I want to be in the industry, but I also want to have YouTube as well. Like, I want to carry both of me going forward. And, a lot of that will depend on me going to physical conventions, which is fine. So we're trying to figure out our spring schedule right now. And a lot of it too is just like people like you, viewers like you, like spreading the word, making sure you subscribe, making sure you have your notifications on, as long as notifications don't annoy the shit out of you. Like, just try to consume and watch cartoons and consume more, and because I feel like I'm just female Walt Disney who can't get his YouTube career started because people don't care. But I think I'm like one of the only animation critique channels that is also an animator too, and not just a critic. So that's it. So make sure you're subscribed and make sure you're notified on the main channel, and so listen to the podcast too if you want to. But the podcast is just like an extra like sprinkle. It's like a nice thing that we do because we like to do it. But it's not the content we work several months on. Unless Lauren's like back there like spending like months, and she has like a conspiracy theory bulletin board back there, just like, what will we talk about on the podcast? Which I don't think is the case.
No.
So there's my KP spiel. So speaking of, and then we'll get back to the news, and then we'll get back to pony stuff shortly. So just a reminder, if you're in the Michigan area, I'm doing a con called Grand Rapids Comic Con. That's the only one confirmed at this moment. I've signed contracts. It's done. The 14th through 16th in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So come out if you. It's from what I can tell, this is a con that's just been there for a while and know what they're doing. They have like tons of guests. They have G.I. Joe reunion, Pokemon original cast reunion. Like, it's not just like me, and like a 500 person con. So please come. Get a commission, like we'll have free coloring pages as we always do. We're getting a Rick and Morty coloring page ready for the first time, so we'll have that if you're not into the ponies or the princesses. Show, have fun if you want to. Okay, I think that's all my announcements. What else are the newsy things?
So I guess to briefly touch on it, so one, there's a sizzle reel that just dropped for season 3 of Harley Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously they actually created whole new animation as part of the sizzle reel promotion.
Mm-hmm.
To obviously go like, animations takes a long time, so it's sometime in 2022, like early 2022.
Oh yeah.
We'll be getting you the new season, but in the meantime, we'll show you the sizzle reel that has a bunch of stuff in the works right now, and it's a lot of like animatic stuff, which is cool. But it was the King Shark and Harley on the sizzle reel promotion. So go check that out. It's up on social medias and probably on YouTube as well. It was part of the DC fandom push, so they're obviously trying to it's the whole thing for fans, DC fans.
Oh look, it's another streaming platform that we don't need.
Yeah, so so anyway, it's so that was their big announcement. But what was cool is again that they used brand new animation to promote that, which was cool.
Yeah, and I'll just throw in, if you haven't seen DC's Harley Quinn, oh my god, my foot's falling asleep, and it's painful. Anyway, I'm trying to move it while still talking. Alright, okay, I think this will work for now. Anyway, so if you haven't seen DC's Harley Quinn, the new one, it is really fantastic. Like I've said,
the writing is really good for it.
Yeah, I've said in the past it's the best thing to come out of DC since BDeggs or Batman the Animated Series. It's very tight. Like the writing's great, the acting's great. If you like my content, then you'll probably like the Harley Quinn show if you're over 18, because it does curse, and I think that's really it. It just curses. There's no really sometimes they shoot people, but I don't think it's excessive. I don't remember anything crazy excessive.
I mean, there are some. I mean, early on, there's kind of some more intense scenes.
Oh yeah, like the first. Oh yeah, I forgot.
It is all dark. It's really dark comedy kind of stuff. So it's even if something gory happens, it's all in the sake of a punchline, really.
Yeah.
So, I remember, it's not really so much of a spoiler. It happens real early in the series anyway. Is Joker when he gets pissed off at Scarecrow and dissolves his face using an acid, when you think of the little those little water flowers, when you squeeze them,
mm-hmm.
and it has had acid in it and it burned off. He basically killed Scarecrow with it, all because Scarecrow pulled off Batman's mask and revealed who he was, and Joker got pissed.
Yeah, if you've seen that clip, that's probably the most popular clip. The where's my goddamn electric car, Bruce? Yeah, which is so they're doing things that are kind of untraditional for a Batman storyline, because Batman's not the main character. So it's just so perfect and beautiful, and we don't have to just wonder who overanalyze everything about the will they won't they kind of vibes. So it's beautiful and it's nice, and Clayface is amazing, and Harley is amazing, and Poison Ivy is Shigo essentially.
Mm-hmm.
A more low key Shigo into plants. I think one of the writers or something is a fan of Kim Possible, so I'm 70% sure Ivy's characterization was inspired a little bit by Shigo. Anyway, that's it. Go watch it. It's beautiful. I love the Harley Quinn show, and I'll probably review season 3 whenever it comes out in 20,000 years.
Yeah, and then my other headline will be that for all of those who follow me on Twitter, y'all know me and y'all know I have a certain penchant for a certain show. Yes, but this is an important headline because we're now officially at the launch of part 6, which I will say right now that when I got into the series, I had just missed by a margin, really by a year, part 5's release. And so this is the first time I'm a part of a whole new part of Lupin series being released.
And you're part of a whole new generation. It's like a theme of this episode.
And especially with something with a series with a huge longevity as Lupin, literally 50 years. This is the 50th anniversary year, let alone the 50th anniversary month of the animated incarnation of Lupin. That they've had 2 episodes drop already, so it's episode 0 and episode 1. Episode 0 is not supposed to be like something 100% tied into part 6's storyline, but it is a good little thread between parts 5 and 6, and it was more used as a farewell to Kiyoshi Kobayashi, who was the original voice actor for Jigen in Japan. He's like the Frank Welker of Lupin, where he has been voicing Jigen for the past 50 years, and he's 88 years old.
You might have to explain who Frank Welker is.
Frank Welker is like, he's been the long-standing voice of Fred from Scooby-Doo, and now he alternates in it as Scooby as well in the series later on, but he's been the long-standing voice of Fred since the show began.
So, if you didn't know that, essentially what we're saying is Fred from Scooby-Doo has been voiced by the same guy the whole time. So you think about that.
For 50 years. Yeah. And so the same...
None of the other cast is the same. So
yeah, and actually over 50 years. With Lupin, there was even like a pilot that was done in 1969. And if I remember, Kiyoshi was his voice there as well for the pilot that pitched everything. So yeah, he finally has hung up the hat, and he has passed the role on to Akio Atsuka. Yeah, I believe yes, I got it right. And whose father was the voice of Goemon Ishikawa, who is one of the other Lupin characters. He was the original voice of Goemon in the original Lupin series from part 1. So it all comes full circle. His son has come back into the picture as the new Jigen. And but he's also been he's a voice acting veteran. He's been in video games, anime, all sorts of stuff. He's Solid Snake. So if you want to consider that is your new Jigen. So I'm stoked. And the whole new part 6 takes place in England. So this will be, and it's all revolving around, we knew this for a while now, is that it'll be Lupin versus Sherlock Holmes, which this isn't the first time in the Lupin canon that, Sherlock's part of his timeline or his storyline. Because Arsène Lupin, who is Lupin's grandfather in French literature, has faced off against Sherlock Holmes in actual literature. But because of copyright, they had to change the name to Herlock Sholmes. So that's why there's Herlock Sholmes in Ace Attorney, video games and stuff like that. So because they couldn't use the name, mostly because Japan and other countries there were a little bit, copyright laws were dependent on the country, but Japan's more lax about it. So they had to keep changing Sherlock's name over time, and so now they can actually say it's Sherlock Holmes because it's I guess you could say name entered public domain a while back, so they could use it. So this one episode 1 just dropped yesterday as of today and it's only for people who are wanting to watch the new series in the United States. It's only on High Dive, which is HIDIVE. It's a anime streaming service exclusively streaming Lupin Part 6 right now, and it is owned by Sentai Filmworks, who has the streaming rights to Part 6 right now. And so they're but yeah, so far people seem to really like how Sentai's been handling stuff, because it's usually been other distributors, and so we'll see. But yeah, I've yet to watch episode 1 officially. I did see episode 0, but that happens tonight, so I get to finally watch episode 1. But yeah, it should be good.
Yeah,
and it ties in, and it's a continuation of part 5 as well. For those who have watched part 5, please do.
How many hours of Lupin is there to catch up before part 6?
Really, it's funny because I want to say that the part 5 was really the first. Well, part 4 was the first time Lupin had a continuing storyline over several episodes. So for a whole series, that there's this, multiple threads into one storyline.
Mm-hmm.
So it went more the traditional anime plot route, when normally Lupin is like very episodic. So there's a plot per episode, monster of the week kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Or I should say heist of the week for them. So really there isn't one particular place to start, but when it's looking at part 6, it's a direct continuation of part 5, especially knowing that there's a few characters that have come in from part 5 and they're coming back for part 6. So it's kind of good to know that you at least have that prefaced before you go into it. Especially with one of the characters who is kind of sort of like, I guess you could say like a rival to Lupin from his early thieving days. And now it's like he's come back around in part 5. And then now he seems to be, at least seems to be seen in part 6, episode 1, at least of what I know from like a couple screenshots. So I've been trying to dodge spoilers like a freaking Olympic gymnast. So I just know about that. That's pretty much it. So I recommend, if you've never watched Lupin, I don't recommend starting with part 5. I would say just to get an idea of the general group dynamics, I would say start with some episodes out of part 2 because they are not sequential. You don't have to watch them in order. You can shuffle them around and you're not lost. You just get the idea of the dynamics of the group. I would say watch the first, which is Lupin the Third, the First, which is the CG movie that came out. It was released in the States in 2020, was released in Japan in 2019. Mm-hmm. Stellar film. Please go watch it. It's one of the most, if they say you can't do CG anime, then say, okay, well then look at the first, and it looks better than so many films I've seen lately that I'm like, dang, look at this is, oof, it's so good. A lot of love and care and actually the creator of the series of Lupin the Third, Monkey Punch, he passed before the movie reached completion, but he basically had a hand in making and overseeing the first to make sure it was something that was up to snuff for the series, right? And for his characters, and he's like and he was always like I want to say he was kind of like Walt Disney in the sense that he loved the concepts of the future and new technology and that kind of stuff and seeing where things go next. He taught himself like Photoshop and everything when it was a brand new thing, and he was using tablets and stuff to color in his artwork, to do digital artwork and all that kind of stuff. Where he was like, he always wanted to try the next new thing. So I think the first was a great send off for especially when it was the last thing he had his hand in, directly. So I would say go check that out. And the Japanese and the English dub are both really good, but it's funny because I'm like, please watch the English dub too. It's really well done. It's the Richard Epcar cast. So if you know Richard Epcar, he's a long-standing voice actor used in anime dubs and stuff like that. And he's the current English voice of Jigen. But he pretty much runs the whole cast. He assembled the entire team of voice actors that are now the current number 1 voted cast of Lupin. Even Japanese crowds, they ran a poll in Japan saying, who's your favorite dub cast, or your favorite cast? It could be Japanese or it could be English, and the number 1 crew that even beat out the Japanese cast was Richard Epcar's crew. So so please, I highly recommend checking out any of the English dub stuff, especially part 2, because they kind of go nuts with it. They kind of just say whatever they want to say with an English dub, and it's absolutely insane. So if you like really silly shenanigans, watch part 2 for some of that stuff. It's taken a little more seriously in the first as like a narrative story. But then you'll hear them in other incarnations, like in part 4 and 5. So you can hear them there too. But anyway, and part 4 takes place in Italy, and it was originally released in Italy before Japan, because apparently the Lupin fan base is huge in Italy. So they got a series before Japan got it. So anyway, ramble over. Please go check out some Lupin stuff. Look into it. I highly recommend just getting a handle on some part 2 episodes to get an idea of the character dynamics. I say check out the first, and then maybe you can try and delve into part 5 after. But just a heads up, there's going to be a lot of callbacks to some old media, so, I mean, you don't have to know them, the old characters, but it's kind of nice when you know that they're there. So anyway, there's really no chronological way to check things out, but please do go check out what you can of it. And there's actually Pluto TV even has, if you know them, they're like a free, they're almost like think of them as like a free little TV service. They have channels exclusively for different things. Like they have a Mystery Science Theater channel and stuff. They actually have a Lupin channel now. Their stuff is in Japanese, so it's going to be English sub. But if you wanted to check out some of the movies and specials, they put them up there to play 24/7. So you can go check those out too. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, one of these days we'll have an anime episode. I just don't know a lot about anime. Like my thing is like Disney and a little Warner Brothers and a little mostly Disney stuff. So, so I'm just like, I watched Death Note. That's about it. That's all my anime. So, I'm open to it.
Potato chip,
and
eat it.
Yeah, I'm open to new anime experiences, but I just want to make sure, they're worth it. And my roommate's really into One Piece, and she's like, I'm on episode 900 of One Piece, and I'm just like, I'm not doing that. So
yeah, see, and that's the thing. What makes it easier to turn people onto Lupin versus a series like One Piece is that you don't have to start at episode 1 and move forward. With Lupin, you could pretty much start anywhere, except when it comes to like part 5, pretty much. Part 4 is a good standalone series that has an overarching story, but it really doesn't connect into any other series before or after. So it kind of, again, I have a huge soft spot for part 4. I absolutely love it. In terms of like overarching stories that connect into another series, that's part 5 going into part 6. So I would say, get a taste of their dynamics in other media, which is not, which basically it's all episodic. So that way you don't have to commit to a huge storyline yet.
Yeah, serialized is the way of the future.
Yeah, and there's lots of great TV specials, lots of great movies. They're all out there, and they all have different, some of them even have like 4 different dubs because different distributors were like, we want different dubs. Yeah, it's just like, another one that you can actually check out if you have Netflix. Check it out while it's still there. Castle of Cagliostro, Miyazaki's first feature film directorial debut, but it was also his send-off to working on Lupin because he originally worked on part 1, and then he directed a couple episodes of part 2. Yeah, and so Lupin is a huge part of his origin. And so, I mean, it was basically because of his experience working on Lupin and being able to direct Castle of Cagliostro, he went on to create Studio Ghibli after that and create stories from there. So you can think it's basically 6 degrees of separation from Lupin with a lot of stuff. Pixar wouldn't exist without Lupin. That's a whole other story.
Yeah, I guess we can do that next time.
There's so much history to it, and it's just so fascinating to see how much it's connected, and so many people just don't really know about it. I don't know how they don't when it's one of the longest standing series ever, but
I think, I don't think it was ever like straightforwardly marketed in the US like Pokemon or something was.
Oh, so, no. Yeah. That's a huge thing. But I mean, like when you think about even in like it's beloved in Japan. But it's also, I mean, in terms of like how there were other international audiences that caught onto it, and somehow the States were very slow to catch onto it. Well, I don't know why, but because it would have been well distributed because of it's a very good blend of East and West kind of stuff, especially very influenced by James Bond and heist films and all that kind of fun stuff, and very Tom and Jerry if you think about it's cat and mouse kind of like chase.
Yeah.
So.
You son of a bitch. I'm sorry. We I like Rick and Morty. Anyway,
ramble over.
Let's get to the pony movie.
We got ponies. Lots of ponies. Where do you want to start with the ponies?
Yeah, I don't know, but I just wanted to say, like, if you're here to hear about the pony stuff, see, like, my rant, like, before Lauren started, like, I don't mind talking about the pony stuff. I don't think I'll do a straight up review of the pony thing, because, people just assumed I would, and I'm just like, Discord's not in it, so I don't really care. I feel like I've said this before, but, like, Discord is, like, is my main artistic inspiration for ponies. He is, my muse, my flame. So when he's not, like, at least Friendship is Magic was around, like, him, and I didn't mind reviewing episodes with, Twilight and Pinkie, even though, I wasn't particularly interested in them. But, when the person, or the thing, I guess he's not a person, when the thing that you watch the show for isn't going to be in the show anymore, probably, then you're just like, what am I doing? So, that said, I guess we can talk about it, but yeah, please be open to watching the new content and not just coming to me for pony, because there's other people you can go to for pony, and I want to have more creative freedom over my content than just make pony stuff until I die for free for you.
But for today, we will indulge in a bit of pony.
Back in my day. Anyway, back in my day, we just had the main 6 and we liked it. And I had Discord and I liked it. But anyway, where do you want to start, Lauren?
Not sure, I guess. But I personally am going to come from the perspective of, I was there for Generation 4 and saw it through to the end. So, really interesting way to, I'm glad they kept it actually. I guess to sum it up is that Generation 5 takes place within the same universe as Generation 4. So, first of all, very smart to
that was the smartest move, I think, because there's so much you could have figured out from, like, a timeline perspective of, what about the future of Equestria? So that's why I'm glad that they went that direction for it. And then it just hooks the new bronies. So, like, I'm still kind of paying attention to it because, there might be Discord, maybe, kind of, sort of. I don't know where John stands as far as coming back for Discord. It might be different because it's for Netflix now or something like that. It's not for Pony Life, which is a whole different bag of mess. So, but yeah, they had tons of Easter eggs in the background and, all sorts of things that, bronies would care about. So it seems like how it's changing the bronies, what's left of the broniescape of, like, the 3 conventions is, the new main 5. They need to call them something different because it's just going to get confusing. But the new main 5 is, marketed the same way as the old main 6, and, you can buy Sunny's Twilight Sparkle bag, and, just things that are smart, so.
Yeah, but I guess to briefly sum it up for people, if you haven't seen the movie by this point, it's been long enough. What are you doing?
You're listening to a review about a movie you haven't seen. I'm not sure what's going on, fam.
Yeah, and we tried to make sure that there was enough time between now and the time the movie was released that we're like, okay, we've given enough of a cushion. We can talk about this.
That and we had stuff going on. Like, last week we were supposed to record this, but I had a full body rash, and I was just like, this isn't happening. So
at the very least, we still have given enough time that people had an extra week or whatever to watch stuff. But anyway, so I guess, but for anyway, just for the context, to briefly sum it up, this is, God knows, 1,000 years into the future of Equestria.
Something like that. I don't know if it's specified that, like, the actual...
Yeah, we just know it's far into the future. To the point where the main 6 is now perceived, at least to the general public, as far as we know, as lore. They're almost like, almost seem to be like, legendary characters versus actual historical figures.
Luke Skywalker, I thought he was a myth. So
yeah, and so set into the far future of Equestria, we follow Sunny, who is an optimistic and friendly Earth pony whose father basically researched the main six and the history of Equestria. He was a brony, an OG brony. And basically she believes in all the pony races living in harmony because guess what? Somehow far into the future, the pony races got segregated again. So somehow there was some kind of disharmony that seeped into the land. We're not sure how that happened, and hopefully we get to see that in the series because this movie was meant to launch the new series, just to be kind of like a pilot film for that kind of stuff. So basically, the whole premise is that she and her buddy Hitch, who is an Earth Pony sheriff, so she lives in the town of Maritime Bay, which is Earth Pony Town. She ends up befriending Izzy the unicorn, who lives in the forest, and then she also becomes friends with these two princesses from the Pegasus Kingdom, Pip and Zip, and they become our new group to follow in the new series. Basically, in the movie, they're trying to find a reason as to why, because basically everyone's been pointing hooves at each other, like, so, you know,
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
She said hooves instead of fingers, anyway.
Well, yeah, because they are pointing hooves.
Oh, we're back into Brony Town when we start replacing nouns with some pony and stuff.
Every pony. So basically the premise is that Izzy arrives in Maritime Bay and befriends Sunny, and Sunny is trying to figure out, okay, if you're a unicorn, so you have magic, right? Izzy's like, we don't have magic. So
I can open this can of beans.
I don't know how... And so it's like, yeah, I can open a can of beans with my horn, though. So basically, it's kind of coming down to figuring out what happened to the unicorn magic, and then it's figuring out, oh, the Pegasi can't fly because their magic's gone, too. And everybody's been pointing hooves at each other as to who stole each other's magic. And it turns out the magic's just straight up gone. So it's basically figuring out how to get the magic back, and as the series will go into, we'll probably delve into what happened and what led to this whole separation of the pony races. Basically, maybe have the main five become our new main six in terms of, you know, going around and with friendship, you know, solving friendship problems and maybe exploring the new lands. Maybe there's new towns, like literally Maritime Bay and basically
we'll figure out everything.
Was it Zephyr Heights? Is that what it's called? Zephyr Heights?
Yeah.
Pegasus Kingdom.
Something like that.
So yeah, all these towns are set, you know, far into the future of Equestria that we'll probably be able to see even more new towns, as well as maybe revisit the ruins of old towns, like what happened to Canterlot, what happened to all these other places from far into the pony past. But yeah, and then we also have Hitch's deputy, because Hitch is the sheriff in the town, and he has a deputy named Sprout, who is another one of Sunny's childhood friends, and he's voiced by what was it? It's God, it was a.
I don't know, so I can't help you.
That's oh God, I hate that I'm blanking. I'm like, I'm remembering all this stuff, and then I'm trying to remember.
You got to turn to your...
Ken Jeong. That's it. Okay, I was remembering. I'm like, wait a minute. Yes. So you have this very... he's basically an embodiment of, like, what it is to have the adults, you know, basically sowing the wrong ideas into a child's head and seeing it come full force as an adult.
What could possibly go wrong?
I have...
I say in this political climate.
Yeah, and so... But with, and again, this whole premise of, like, you know, the pony races being in disharmony, what better way to illustrate that than through a musical film? Yes, we are back into form with songs, and they're actually really good songs. So there's a few, I mean, they're all pretty catchy, but I think Fit Right In is kind of like the crowd favorite. Especially when that's pretty much the one where we get, like, everybody, pretty much all our main ensemble singing together, which is great.
Yeah. I'll just throw in, do you want to say something?
No, you go.
Okay, I'll just kind of throw in my thoughts. So, I think this was the best pony movie, like, so far, like, period. Mm-hmm. I think the original theatrical My Little Pony, the one with the main six, not the one like the first one.
The Gen 4 one.
The Gen 4 one, the one that was a couple years ago, back in my day. Anyway, that one, I think, if you remember my review from it, was not that good, because I think they were just focused on, look at this thing, we've never done this thing before, we never left Equestria before, and it's very MacGuffin-y. It's you have a full runtime and you're basically doing something that we've already done in the series several times. So it's not bad, but it's a big wasted opportunity, as well as it probably should have been much sooner in the horse timeline, when the Bernie hype was like at its peak and not kind of dying down in 2017, I think it was. So, and I think the majority of people are on the same boat as far as it not really meeting their expectations, with the exception of Tempest. Everyone is a goddamn simp for Tempest. But in general, it's not bad, but it's very basic.
It looks really nice.
it looks good. Animation's good, and that's.
But they obviously try to juggle way too much. And on top of that, they're trying to make this a film to introduce to people who haven't watched the series, and they're trying to make this something. I'm like, this is where the Gen 5 is so good at starting with a movie that establishes everything, and it keeps the plot simple. It doesn't have to be a huge complex thing. Here are your characters. Here's how they come together. They're coming together to solve a problem, and they keep it contained between these areas for right now. And that's fine, because guess what? We have a whole series that'll go into more of the land and more of the characters, and delving into why things are the way they are now in the future. Here we are in the future, and it's so I think what the problem was with Gen 4's Pony movie is that they were trying to introduce new people too late into the game. Like, literally, you could have just had a very nice self-contained plot
and
that
not
wasn't
in a good
hugely
way.
Complicated.
Like, I don't need expanded lore in my hour-and-a-half Pony movie. Like, use that time
that's for the show. That's what the show can do. That's what the comics can do. That's what they did do.
I mean,
you don't need to have it in a brand new movie that's trying to be an introduction to potential new fans. That's way too much to throw at them.
Like, I think... Like, I said this before, but I think the season 6 finale, introducing Star Swirl and doing all that, was better than the Pony movie. And they, putting that plot in the Pony movie probably would have been a move that made more sense. But don't listen to me. I'm just the lady on the internet who just, doesn't have any, just does this. I'm gonna stop talking. But yeah, so, and then I thought it was really lazy. Season 9 was basically built around the whole idea of, they can't depend on Discord all the time to fix their problems, because that's when you have an OP character. In general, it's just let's just have him snap his fingers and blah, blah. And in Discord's attempt was basically, you can do it without me. You don't need to depend on me. But, that was also way too late in the game. I think that would have been a much better plot point, in the movie or even before the movie, because writing Discord out of the script is just so lazy. It's just he showed and if you pay attention, for those who don't remember, he's in the credits of the movie, so he shows up after the conflict, and I'm just well, that was stupid. Why did they do that? It's just it just unjustifies the movie even more, where you have a solution to your problem and you're not even attempting to try to use it to for the sake of your movie. So, I think McCarthy and team were just oh, we're doing a movie, yeah, and they didn't really think about what constitutes a feature film in a pre-established series. So
yeah, at least that's, again, where the benefit for Gen 5 is that they began with the movie to introduce everything, and they kept the plot simple.
Mm-hmm.
So, and especially when we're you're allowed to go bigger as the show goes on. That's pretty much what happened with Gen 4. They started pretty small, but by the end of the first season, you had something pretty big, and it only got bigger and bigger and bigger after that first season.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I like when you can allow a series to grow and have an audience grow with it kind of thing. But also without just making it too complicated to start things out. Otherwise, you lose people unless you have a simple enough hook that'll get people going like, I want to see more.
Yeah.
You give them a taste, but you leave them going like, I want to see more. And with Gen 5, I was hopeful for it anyway, but I wasn't like trying to like put all my eggs into one basket for it. Because I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure where it was going to go. But I'm glad that I watched it and watched it a number of times now.
Oh yeah, I've only seen it the one time, so I didn't.
I've watched it a number of times.
No, just I don't know why I watched it. Probably because I was this obviously, but I wasn't like one of the people counting down to midnight to see when it dropped on Netflix.
Oh yeah,
it's being advertised enough, just like online and like on streaming platforms that I'd be like, oh, I still haven't watched that. Well, people were talking positively about it. I guess as an animation fan who, I should watch it for that reason. And what I also like too, to go piggyback on Lauren's point, I feel like because of the long movie, the bond between the five ponies was more genuine than because basically, in case you don't remember, the pilot for Friendship is Magic 10 years ago, like, Twilight needs to do something, the other five go to her with her to do something, they help her along the way, and then Twilight's like, hey, this is neat, maybe I like having friends. So I never really bought that as the strongest, reason for, like, those strong friendships that lasted all 10 years. Like, it was kind of like an okay start foot, I guess. But, essentially for this one, this is also, like, the tying thing between them is the morality of, like, I guess Nightmare Moon tying them, whatever. But the morality of, like, doing what's best for the pony. Like, Hitch, the male pony, is still, gung-ho to, like, arrest Sunny for fraternizing with the unicorn, and he doesn't really change his mind till like halfway through the runtime when he's just like, hey, this is bad. I'm just like, good job. Good character development. Good job.
I think that's another point I want to discuss is like the main five in general. And it's like the main five and probably all other attached new characters, Sprout included. What was your overall first impression of this group?
I am curious to see where they go. I don't mind them, but I'm also, there's nothing particularly like, oh, I like this character because X, Y, and Z. There's nothing that like hooked me to a specific character. Design wise, Pip is my favorite. The pink one, right? The light,
Pip.
Okay,
yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm not getting them confused. Anyway,
the social media princess.
I like her. I like her design the best. I like her white, like little fluffy little wings. I think it's funny that she's a social media pony because I relate to that on a meta level, I guess.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. The fact that we're in like modern day pony age, where there's actually like TVs and electronics and phones.
Yeah, I think there was movies in G4, so I think that's like more than fair to have phones and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, like to make sure that they 100% make it more like it's not like this is how Pony would try and make this work. It's like literally here's the technology. We can just figure after 1,000 years or whatever they've come to the point where they've invented this stuff and have made it to the point where we're at. They've kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean they've just, if you think about all they've added is cell phones and bigger TVs, if colored movies were something that already existed. So it's not that big of a leap at all. That's fine. But I thought that was cute. I thought Pip, being a social media horse is cute. There's already been talk about like, will this cast come back to voice them in the series? I think yes, because it's. I know they're. Well,
yes
let me make my case. I think that they are kind of like bigger names than just voice actors that you could hire for roles, but they started this knowing that it was going to be a movie and then a series. So, whoever was doing this probably had that in mind. And keep in mind, Hasbro's been pretty good with making sure the main 6 weren't replaced in, like, anything for, like, the most part, except for, like, that Pinkie Pie series on YouTube, which is weird looking. Anyway, so, if we were only getting the movie, I'd say no. But since we were getting, like, this movie series package, and this was, like, that was the plan the whole time, I think that was kept in mind as far as the casting choices. Like, hey, this is going to go on for a while, so heads up. Go ahead, Lauren.
I think it's a mix. I think it's going to be a mix. Like, they may recast some people because you have to consider James Marsden isn't somebody you usually keep on for a series. Like, I think the only thing I can think of was maybe Westworld. That was about it that they had him on. And, because otherwise he's a movie actor. And so I have not seen him commit to a series past that. It'd be nice if we kept him around because, dang it, I love James Marsden. But when you have like Kimiko Glenn, who's already been in Centaur World, she's getting a lot of horse stuff lately. May that trend continue. That she's already been in a series where she's committed to singing and stuff like that, and being an animated character. I see her as being one of the, especially with her voice being very distinctive to, especially with a character like Izzy, that, yeah, they'll keep her around. I feel like it's a little trickier with some of the other characters. I don't know. With some of the other actors, I'm not sure. But some of them have been on other TV shows where they've been, kept around. So they are used to working episodic and being in an episodic project. So maybe for those, but I can't say that for everybody. Ken Jeong probably will be able to come back as Sprout. That's also a possibility because he's been in episodic. Because hello, Community. So, and also, the fact that a lot of, pretty much, our movie cast is everybody can sing, which is nice. But I have to wait and see if they actually do keep everybody around. But I feel like it may be they recast some people, but they'll keep others, depending on like who's already kind of used to working episodic and who they can count on to be there for episodic stuff.
Yeah,
but
I think we'll see. I think my gut is like maybe this was probably cast in 2022, and maybe these actors were just desperate to be able to do something. And like if you're a live action actor, you were kind of a sitting duck. So yeah, I think like a character like, it's like the pony characters are like Disney characters in the same way that they're like legacy characters. Like you will like, they get the voice actors from the original movies to voice like straight in the park for Disney all the time. So I guess the short answer is we'll see. So there's our cases. So I think both of our preferences is keeping the same voice actors because I think that just helps the flow of things. Yeah.
It's like, I can't say it'll be that way, but it would be nice if it was. So, we'll see. We'll see when the series comes out officially, because I believe it'll be next year when the series officially launches. And then actually, in terms of my gauge on the new cast, I love them. I kind of like them as an ensemble. Yeah, I'm gonna straight up say that Izzy is my favorite in terms of that, but it's really hard because while she is my favorite, I love all of these characters. I genuinely I love their dynamic together. I love all their personalities. I'm like, wait, so you mean to tell me that before with Gen 4 where it may have been like, oh, I'll warm up to this character. Like, I think with in particular when you had somebody like Rainbow Dash, I had to get used to her personality. With somebody when you have basically more or less you have Pip and Zip and these kinds of characters. Like Zip is basically our Rainbow Dash for this series. But I like her so much more. I don't, and I'm like, and that's not a knock against Rainbow Dash because I grew to like Rainbow Dash over time. But coming out of the gate, I really liked Zip. I don't know. It's like, I feel like they all made a really good impression. I feel like maybe who didn't get as much proper representation was Pip. But we got a series to do that, so I'd like to see more of her and see more rep for her. Sunny is precious. I absolutely, and actually Vanessa Hudgens was actually a great casting choice for her.
Yeah, I was surprised that worked out as well as it did.
She brought this really great energy and optimism to the character, and really a lot of pep to the voice, and of course we all knew she could really sing. She can sing, and she was perfect for this. And hey, we have finally officially we have a stallion in our main group.
We have one stallion. Yay, diversity.
Congratulations to first main boy.
The mainest boy.
Yeah, and I do like that they pretty much, what they did is, obviously they're trying to make all these characters as parallels to the main six, but I love that they pretty much merged
the animal
Applejack
thing?
Yeah, they merged Applejack and Fluttershy into Hitch. I think that's like one of the best decisions that they could have made, because he's like, I'm a tough big guy sheriff, and then he's like, why do these cute animals follow me? I love that everybody, like, it's the animal magnetism, which I think is freaking hilarious, that he's just like,
yeah,
that he has like these little animals that tail after him. He's just like, I don't know, they just seem to like me. I don't know.
I think for those who are playing at home and don't remember, the pitch for Generation 5 was going to be a rebranding of the same character, so Twilight would be Sunny, and I think Zip would be Rainbow Dash. You get it? That's why they're kind of similar beats character-wise. But this idea about the world being separated and like by races was still kind of part of the original thing. So that's the thing that got leaked, like, a couple years ago, that people were like, is this what they looked like now? So I think the thing that they did works a lot better than that other idea, because you can have your cake and eat it too. You don't like. I think Pony Life is already kind of isolating as just a general premise. I don't know any bronies that are like hardcore into Pony Life. Like all my brony friends are just like, it's too SpongeBob-y, and it's and I'm like, yeah.
With like the designs and stuff for the new main 5, I personally really love it, and that what I think is really kind of cool though, especially when you look at, like, for example, when you look at the Pegasi and the unicorns, is that they made these little slight alterations, and I almost want to say it's almost like the evolution of a species kind of thing, because when you think about where unicorn horns looked like, like your pretty standard unicorn horn in Gen 4. Gen 5, all of a sudden you look at, like, Izzy's horn, for example. I mean, all the unicorn horns look like hers, where they're actually like a solid horn with, like, actually like little swirls and curls and like these little mystic kind of markings in it, versus just a coiled cornucopia looking unicorn horn, right? Which I thought that was a really cool take to do. And then on top of that, the Pegasi having, especially when you look between Pip and Zip, they're supposed to be sisters, but they have 2 entirely different sets of wings and different builds. Like, actually, Pip is small. It took me a moment to realize, oh yeah, she's actually the smallest in the group. And she has the fluffiest wings, and then Zip has multicolored wings. I think that's really cool that they actually show, like, these variations within the species, and then they show how they've changed from where they were to where they are now. I'm like, wow, is there, like, there's actually some kind of, like, an evolution. I'm like, Earth ponies kind of pretty much stayed the same, except they have a lot more markings and gradients on their bodies. Like, they have blazes, they have muzzle markings, they got different colored feathers on their hooves, which is really nice. And actually, you can really thank, there was designers all over the place, but when you think about it, with Imalu, famous brony artists got to be involved in the designs of these characters, especially with, you could tell in the color palettes too, that, Imalu is really good with colors for the characters and making them really rounded and cute in their design. So congrats to Amalu, being able to work on this new generation, making them look freaking fantastic. But yeah, even Sprout, I even like his design. They gave the ponies eyebrows this time around too. I should also point out. Yes, they gave him eyebrows, and Sprout has the thickest eyebrows of them all. But I really do. I really do like the overall designs of the new characters. I like the way the different communities are presented here. I kind of like that they're the. I kind of like that they're like the beatnik, like moody, like emo ponies in the Unicorn Forest, and then you have kind of like the New York pop culture centric Zephyr Heights, where it's, you know, big screens and very very much modern day New York with Manhattan with the big screens and stuff.
Don't you
like
mean
that.
Manhattan?
I know Manhattan. What happened to Manhattan? Did it sink below the sea? Because they could have called it Manhattan, but I guess if it's the Pegasus City, then I don't know. It's old New York. But yeah, I was going to say, yeah, overall, with all these characters, the new characters and the dynamics, I actually really love that they have a very strong running coming out of this. Even to a degree better than what we got with Gen 4 to start. And that's not to bash Gen 4 in any way, because, again, we had enough time to grow with the characters that we had pretty much 10 years with them. This is really just strong for Gen 5 out of the gate. So I'm really happy that they have that good running for them.
Yeah, I think, you know, like, when you have a full-length movie, you actually have better pacing to establish characters or something like that. Imagine that. I guess my next question for discussion, do you think Sunny will remain Alicorn, or you think it's a power-up kind of thingy?
I think it's a power-up thing. Because I don't see the horns and wings hanging around all the time. And plus, that kind of diminishes her being an Earth pony all of a, you know, where she was an Earth pony and now she's all of a sudden got wings and a horn at the end of a movie. I think it's a power-up thing. Because you can see that they're translucent, too.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a magic versus something that stays there.
Yeah.
I think it's, if anything, it gave her some kind of a power up, some
foreshadowing
kind of
or something like that. Yeah, I think you're right. And I think that's where they're going, because Twilight and stuff. But I think it's way too soon to establish or do that as a move. And then she's like, what is she the princess of? Is she just like, does an Alicorn make princess? When will we talk about how that works, guys? Come on, writers. Come on, guys.
And that's another question is, especially with the disharmony and having like, and if the fact that there's people that, you know, they have, you know, princesses of kingdoms like Pip and Zip, but they don't have Alicorns anymore. That's another thing I'm looking forward to seeing what this series goes into. Where's Twilight? What happened? So it's
she
like,
lived
how
forever.
far into the future is it? Yeah, it's like, what happened to Celestia and Luna? Are they still spending retirement? They just go, forget about it. They'll figure it out. And it's been 1,000 years, and they're like, they still haven't figured it out.
They haven't moved the whole time. They got like there's a cut, and they're like,
they got
little
worse
spider webs and stuff on them.
Yeah, when you have like Alicorns cemented into, at least in Gen 4, as princesses, and that they, to a degree, are, even if they're not 100% immortal, they live a lot longer than normal ponies do. That's what I'm kind of curious of, is even though Sunny got like the wings and horn like an Alicorn, and the people would think, oh, she's a princess now. I don't think that's the case. I think it's more, again, like it's just a power up. It's something where she's where she becomes kind of the embodiment of unity between the races, you know? And to have that, and that's why the magic comes back at the end, is literally because they all get together and they come together as one community. And then you realize, that's why the magic disappeared, because everybody freaking was fighting with each other. And that she was kind of the catalyst for all of that. So I guess she is the embodiment of unity, versus being like an actual princess. That's how I see it. But, because otherwise this is so quick to rush her into, quote, princess category. But it does raise the question again, then where are the other Alicorns? If, like, she gets the Alicorn features, then what does that make her, other than, I think she's, like, again, the embodiment of unity, but what does that make her down the line? where are the other Alicorns? What happened to the whole concept of, like, the raising the sun and the moon and all that kind of stuff? Does anybody do that now? Or is that run on autopilot?
And then,
I like that I like the headcanons that people have when if Sunny ever meets Twilight, and Twilight's this jaded, like, grizzly, distant Alicorn, like a la Luke Skywalker when he kind of, like, isolated himself.
Yeah.
Twilight out there drinking blue milk. But, I mean, I kind of would like to see if they do end up going that route down the line, and that, like, Twilight, after she lost all of her friends, that going, like, everyone I loved is dead, and here I am, kind of like, I don't know if they'll go that route.
No one wants to be immortal. Like, that's the moral. That's the moral of the story.
Exactly. That's what I'm like. It's like, that's why it's like, it's the curse, and then it's almost like having to live with that when, no doubt, like, so Celestia and Luna had to live with too. And Cadence, no doubt, too. What happened? I mean, she's an Alicorn, but that didn't mean Shining Armor was. So, their daughter was an Alicorn, though, the first born Alicorn. So,
well, it's implied
I'm still confused about.
And Luna were born Alicorns too. So,
I guess, well, they said it's beyond our understanding that an Alicorn was born. So that's why they said it was like. I guess that's why I thought that she was the firstborn.
No, I think they just don't know how it works, essentially. That's kind of what I assumed. So, like, they were just like, this is the first Alicorn born in Equestria. And I'm like, well, they were around before Equestria was, like, a thing, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so,
so it just doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, and then you got the Journal of the Two Princesses, which goes into, like, them, being, like, in a race of Alicorns, and then Star Swirl chooses them to raise the moon and stuff, and they had to play about that from that episode where she can't act. Anyway, yeah. Boring lore stuff. It's fine. Did you like the red pony? Like, I kept on seeing memes in my feed about them being
everyone's saying Sprout. Everyone's saying Sprout, my beloved. And then, but I love, the memes for him are really funny too. I mean, could he have actually been like, could he have gotten the smack upside the head like, you idiot, you shouldn't have done this? Yeah. But given, like, he should have faced repercussions for what he did. Absolutely. But at the same time, I'm thinking, I feel like they handled everything else really well with the movie, that I feel like maybe somehow his remorse is going to come back in the show about what he did.
Like
and maybe it's more like and that's where he's going to have the time to be able to earn his redemption. Like, even if he's given a pass right now, it's not really so much of a pass as it is like he now has the opportunity to grow as a character in the series, versus handing him the redemption at the end of a movie. I'm sorry, hug it out with me. I still think his overall, though, I do like Sprout as a character. It's like I do like the whole, like, Prince Charming fairy godmother.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say.
Mother-son dynamic they had was great. I still laugh at the memes of the, I'm going to kick your ass. I'm going to beat your ass. I'm going to beat your ass. So it's like, son, don't use that kind of language. I'm sorry, mommy. Will you still make me mac and cheese? I'm like, yeah, that's it. There's the, was I good, sheriff? Oh, look, a flying dog walks away. And actually, I thought it was interesting that that they actually got me with a red herring in the movie, is that I thought that for a while that his mother was going to be the main villain, but it turns out she was like, the mother didn't realize she was in over her head with the idea she was putting into her son's head. And then her son, neglected always, goes onto a power trip going like, suddenly I'm the important one, right? So, and that's where she realizes somebody's getting a big head.
Yeah.
But I like that she actually is actively trying to stop him in the end, going like, you stop that right now. Your mother says to stop. But then you have to think, well, she's got to pay some kind of a repercussion too, realizing, hey, you realize he turned out this way because you, right?
I mean, her whole company is about protecting other or Earth ponies from other races. So now that that's not a thing anymore, like, that's her punishment.
Yeah, she lost her business. That's her punishment. Yeah. Or it's like, at the very least, we know she's a tech company of some sort. So maybe she'll pivot.
Where's my goddamn electric car, fairy godmother?
Ponies driving electric cars. I love the idea. But yeah, it was. I like Sprout. I'd like to see where they go with him in the show. I do like that he has I think it was the part where he's going through like the frickin' the pinup Hitch calendar.
Oh God!
He has like a perfect hair, perfect abs, paid off mortgage, and everyone's like, "Oh, I get it. Yeah, paid off mortgage. I'd have some animosity there too." It was I'm like, I love those like the little windows into Sprout that we do get when he's on his own like that. And again, I do like to see. I'm very curious to see where the series goes after this with all of these characters. It's just a great starting run for all of them.
Yeah.
What'd you think of Sprout?
I don't know, just the stuff that you said. He kind of reminded me of someone else I didn't like, so I was kind of entertained by that a little bit. When will the horse people learn? But anyway, I don't know. Hopefully things are getting better in horse analysis land. I don't know. But we've talked about that before. Yeah, I liked it. It was good. Good movie. Better than the other horse movies so far, because they had more time to establish the plot and like the things that they needed to do for the plot. I liked the mother character for the Pegasus princess thingies.
Oh yeah, the queen was really the queen of the Pegasus.
I liked her dog that had wings. I thought that was funny.
Yeah,
that was extra.
He's just a cotton ball with wings. I love him.
Yeah. I think we can wrap. I don't think we have anything else to say besides go Pony movie good if you like Pony. If you don't like Pony, you might like Pony movie too. I think
if anything, you probably came here for validation on the thoughts you already had on the movie that you already saw. But anyway, we'll encourage you to go watch it.
It has a really high Rotten Tomatoes score too. So it was
the number one movie on Netflix streaming like worldwide. So when it initially came out, like for the first few weeks, it was like the number one movie running on Netflix. So I'm like, good for you guys. Keep it going.
Good for you. It's like, I mean, this is what the 2017 movie should have been. It's like establishing new characters in a way that's not war heavy enough that you'll be isolated as far as what's going on. So I think, what's going to happen. And that's the good thing about doing future plots is like future plots with pre-established timelines just kind of open the door as far as like episode ideas, like what happened to this, how is this, what does this change? So I think I'm hoping that it will draw more people into like, oh, I like this, I wonder if I'll like Generation 4, and then most of Generation 4 is on Netflix, they're just missing the last season. So I'm curious to see how it changes the Brony-scape and what that means for the KP future and stuff like that. So, I'll probably end up talking about it more in the future, but, I'm not going to pressure myself to talk about things that I don't really have anything to say about for other people's entertainment anymore. So, except this one time. No, I don't mind talking about it, but, doing a whole review is a lot. And what do I get not paid for things? All right, so I guess we can wrap. Do you have any footnotes to wrap on?
Just four words: magic, wing, feather, mayonnaise. Sorry to freak out all the unicorns in the crowd.
I guess we're horse equivalent, so sorry, other unicorns, I guess.
I still love how superstitious the unicorns are. So that's just like, you can't say magic, wings, magic, wing, feather mayonnaise.
I guess if you're new to the podcast, welcome to the podcast. We have tons of old podcast episodes. We're trying to attempt to get back to it once a week. We kind of took a break because my dog died, which wasn't fun. He was 16 and a half, and he was very helpful for my trauma stuff. So that was an extra loop. I actually took the semester off from school to do hospice for him, and then he died like the week school started. So now I'm just like, oh, what do I do? What do I do for a couple months now? I'll just die. So anyway, a lot of people have been sending me some lovely condolences, so I appreciate that. For babies are hard, especially ones that have been around as long as little Harry was. So, but yeah, as far as KP stuff, like I said in my soapbox earlier, just make sure you're subscribed to the main channel. Make sure your notifications on, or you're consuming the new content. Hopefully, give it a chance, or try non-pony content if you haven't yet as well. We don't have a consistent upload schedule right now for the main channel, but generally every other week we're shooting for. And then we got some fun Disney themed stuff in the future, so that will be neat. Podcast too. Podcast is on all the places. I think most people stream it on YouTube. I don't know. But in case you're weird and you like your podcast apps and you listen to more than one podcast, then it's on Spotify, it's on iTunes, it's on SoundCloud, it's on all the platforms that you would typically get your podcast from. And I think like only a couple people have left like stars and reviews like on the various platforms. So if you want to do that, you can, because I read those. I try to, like, now that like views are dead, I'm trying to respond to more comments generally, so people care, like people are incentivized to comment on things. So comment away. We appreciate everything that you are doing, all three people that said you listen to the podcast. That's a joke, but and then I think that's really it. We have a couple guests coming up that we're really excited to dive into. Oh yeah, soon. we scored one of our guests, upcoming guest podcasts. We scored pretty well, which I'm excited to talk to some people about. So and if you, I don't know, I was going to say if you know any guests, but then I'm just like, no one knows anyone. So, but yeah, expect more Lauren and I episodes in the future, because as the holidays get closer anyway, LA will kind of shut down, so no one will be doing interviews. Or no one's going to be doing stuff. Everyone's going to be traveling for the holidays and things, so we'll just do more episodes about all this, more Christmas stuff or whatever there is to talk about. So if you like our voices, then you're in luck, I guess. I think that's it. So thanks for listening to the horse episode. We'll do some more horse episodes in the future as the series comes out, I guess. And thanks for your ears of attention, or some horse pun. Lauren, do you have anything else you want to say?
I guess stay tuned, and I'm glad thank you for tuning in to a pony episode where we haven't actually talked about pony in a while. So actually, now that I think about it, I don't think we really talked pony on this podcast before. We've talked, it's been in videos, but it has not been on the podcast. So
yeah, we haven't. I mean, there hasn't been any new pony stuff that's happened since Generation 4 ended anyway. There's just been conventions.
Yeah,
and stuff,
so we officially got to have like a pony conversation on here, which is kind of nice.
It's like we got our little horse Easter eggs on the podcast loop on the YouTube channel for a reason or something. So, but yeah, thanks again for listening to us talk about things, and I hope you guys are around for the next podcast if you like this format. If you want to consume more KP, then these are much easier to produce than the main videos.
Yeah.
All right.
So be sure to check out the channel, all the episodes, and we will be seeing you next time.
Good night,
everybody.
Good night.
Thank you so much for listening to Animation Kimmunication on YouTube, Spotify, or your favorite podcast provider. We are really hoping this show makes a difference in how people view animation and media, as well as giving and providing advice for people all over the world who like or want to join the animation or media industry. If you liked what you heard, please remember to subscribe and rate those 5 stars, as well as tell your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our main YouTube channel, I Love Kim Possible a Lot, and turn those notifications on. My name is Scribbler, and you have been listening to Animation Kimmunication.